and welcome to The Risk Factor, the podcast where we delve into the world of risk and insurance to better understand what makes it tick, as well as explore the latest trends, emerging risks, and developments in the insurance sector. Now, I'm your host, Shalini, the CEO of the Singapore College of Insurance. Today's episode centers on reimagining claims, evolving roles, emerging tech, and strengthening trust. Now, since claims is a key moment of truth in insurance where commitments are honored, trust in our industry is strengthened, we thought this would be the most appropriate topic to discuss and explore with our leading industry specialists. Now, I'm delighted to be joined by two highly respected leaders who bring different but complementary perspectives. Joining us today, we have Mr. Thangarajah, Managing Director and Executive General Adjuster at FortisCor, who brings deep expertise in complex loss adjusting. We also have Mr. Clarence Ting, Global Claims Leader for Construction and Infrastructure at Aon, who leads advocacy and innovation for clients. Gentlemen, welcome to The Risk Factor. I'm just going to let's just quickly dive in, to start, to set the stage. Now, claims has undergone a significant change in the recent years. Clarence, maybe you want to start it off a little bit from your vantage point at Aon. What has been that single biggest shift in client expectations that you have seen around claims, say, in the last 5 years?
Thanks, Shalini. So happy to be here, and it's a privilege to join the two of you today. And that's a great question to sort of start us off. The risk environment continues to be volatile, right? Not too long ago, generally client expectations would be prompt settlements, and a sense of fairness. Now today, the level of sophistication is evolving. Expectations extends to being proactive, being preventive, and also somewhat being integrated into the entire holistic risk management strategy. And there's a growing demand for insights, right? Data is increasingly at our fingertips. And through these insights, for example, how do we best utilize data to improve risk management and improve the overall portfolio and the performance of the business?
So these are insights from claims experience.
Claims experience, claim data, and there's a huge amount of claims data in the claims community.
I see.
Whether that's pre-loss data, but also post-loss information on your causation, your loss of causation, your geographies, your nature and extent of weather-related perils and large losses.
And this demand is coming from the client side?
Clients, increasingly carriers are acknowledging the importance of leveraging information. The loss adjusting community likewise, right? Historically, you may have a case of a loss scenario where you would have to find a form of a competitive quotation to what represents a reasonable basis of indemnity. Now, there are situations in today's context where that's not practically available. So how do we find a benchmark?
True.
So data provides one avenue of that benchmark.
Very good. All right. Thanga, maybe just going to you from an adjuster's perspective. Now, what is that most important change that you have seen in your role, in how your role is understood by both insurers as well as policyholders?
Okay, so loss adjusters have been traditionally fact finders, investigators for insurers. So we go down to the site after a post-loss incident, and we do the fact finding. We provide the insurers with the necessary information that they need to make a decision on a claim. Now that was quite one-sided, one-dimension type of work that we used to do. So what is expected of us now is a bit more wider. We are now expected to guide the insured, and the insured is no longer on the opposite side of the fence. Now it's more inclusive. So we guide insured through the process. We manage the insured's expectation quite a lot more than what we used to do.
Okay.
And I think claims as a whole has moved on or evolved from a process mentality to an experience mentality.
Okay.
So now we don't talk about claim processes, how claims are being processed from the inception of the claim to the conclusion, but what is the client's experience throughout this process. So the adjusters, being the people that represent the insurers, are now seen as the extension of an insurance company or an extension of the broker, because we are there facing the client when the client is in a post-disaster situation, and we guide the client through and ensure that they are not left to fend for themselves entirely.
Okay.
So I think the fences are being brought down a little bit now, and we help the client more than what we used to. So that's a little bit of a change in terms of the mindset, in terms of how things are approached as well.
Okay.
So I think that will be mainly the biggest change I see.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
And I think also, before we go further, right, so let's maybe just break it down a little bit for our listeners, right? So the term loss adjusters as well as claims professional can sound, I mean, sometimes people say it interchangeably or sound similar now, but they are actually quite distinct in terms of the role. Now, Thanga, if you had to describe, I think you talked about that, right? What makes the role of a loss adjuster unique in that whole claims journey? And then I'll come to Clarence in terms of how the claims professional complements that.
Yeah. So loss adjuster by trade is a very unique trade in itself. It's very niche. There are not many loss adjusters in Singapore. There's probably about 150 or so loss adjusters. We always tell candidates that if you can't decide to be a lawyer, an accountant, or an engineer, then be a loss adjuster. Okay. So a loss adjuster is a jack of all trades, because you never know in which industry, which loss situation, which nature of claims that you're going to be dealing with, So it's changing every time. You have to be quick to adapt.
Learn the business, right? To where the loss occurred as well.
Yes. So you always put into a situation which is outside of your comfort zone for certain. And so going into that situation, then you have to assess the situation, understand it quickly, and deal with the claim. Right? So you can be dealing with a medical malpractice claim in a hospital one day, and the next day you are on board a vessel in a shipyard.
That's true.
And another day you are dealing with a financial loss in a bank. So it's so multivarious. And so this job then requires someone who's really quick to adapt to the situation that they are put in. Ultimately, you are a bridge between so many stakeholders, now the role is evolved to more of a project manager more than anything else to deal with a claim, because there are so many experts that you need to bring into a claim. And so on top of dealing with a claim, you also need to have some project management capabilities in dealing with all the different stakeholders that you are, that throughout the life cycle of the claim. So it's a unique job. It's definitely an interesting job, and it's a job that you are never short of stories to tell your friends and family.
I always like Tanga's story about, he always talks about when you see people running out of a burning building, it's the loss adjuster that's running into the burning building. I always like that story because it's a good way to describe the profession in that sense.
Yep.
Yeah, besides the firemen, of course. They are the ones running into the burning building.
Yep.
Clarence, I think to supplement what Tanga talked about, right? So how would you say that how claims professionals complement the role that adjusters play in that whole to deliver the best outcome to clients?
Yeah, I relate to a lot of Tanga's points, and this is an important distinction. And this question pops up every so now and then whenever I'm spending time with the young interns and the graduates who have some courage to join the industry. And truly in some markets outside of Asia, the two terms are interchangeable. You have claims adjusters who are the employees within the insurance organization. I guess one distinction that comes to mind would be the claims professional brings context and coordination in what would be typically post-loss, a high-tension environment, right? Facilitating the accurate investigation of the fact-finding that Tana described. Another example that would come to mind would be a claims professional's role would be tasked to shaping the loss narrative, managing the stakeholder management in terms of effective communication, anticipating challenges, whether that's part of reinstatement of the project or deploying loss mitigation plans alongside. Now, when I think about large and complex loss scenarios, the two are in fact many times in a co-driving seat. Co-driving in terms of immediate post-loss risk, loss mitigation deployment, Co-driving seat in terms of reinstatement plans,
Okay.
because you really want to be in sync from day one, minimize surprises across the groups of decision makers, up to successful return to business. Because when that happens, then client feels good. There's a high level of certainty in terms of information, which often results to a more consistent level of decision making from both
true.
insurers and also from the client's perspective. And post-loss claim scenarios, as I mentioned earlier, are high tension. So part of the role is navigating that environment, be comfortable, being uncomfortable, reading the room. And a lot of this is built upon existing trust. You need to have the existing trust, the relationships set up before the loss.
So just to understand the scenario, right? So let's say there's a loss has happened. Are both claims professionals and a claim professional as well as the adjuster in the room with the client, or is it who's facing the client at first, at the beginning? How does that work?
Generally, in more than 50% of occasions, you would have the claims adjuster appointed. He would deploy. You would have the claims professional from the broking side of the business,
Oh, I see.
right? Being the direct advisor or the immediate advisor to the client. We highly encourage the participation of the lead insuring community. So usually for large and specialty risks, you have a lead insurer coupled with lead reinsurer,
Okay.
generally through different facultative programs. So we encourage, after the fact-finding process, at some point when you're anticipating a phase of making a decision,
Okay.
or you are anticipating to make a decision on the first interim cash flow,
Correct.
we
To get the business
Yeah,
at least to
exactly to
move,
fund the restoration,
Correct.
the reinstatement of the business. We generally encourage the lead decision makers to participate at these meetings.
I see. With the client. I see. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay. Now, as your roles are evolving rapidly to meet new realities, let's explore what that looks like. Right? So, traditionally, adjusters were viewed mainly as technical assessors. Today, I think you talked about how the different roles that you have to play, right? Advisor, mediator, problem solver, shoulder to cry on, everything, right? You got to play all these multiple roles. Now, how do you view that evolution of your role? Is that a good thing? Is that, does that make it harder to find somebody that can do all this? I mean, how do you look at it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right that the roles are evolving. I think that's quite common across the board in many industries. The claims industry itself, it's a lot to do with not only the claim per se, but it is the people that are involved in the claims. Now, in any claims for that matter, I always say that the work itself is not difficult. The difficulty comes in dealing with the people. And I think for us, it's not only going in very mechanically to try to establish a certain set of facts in terms of causation or circumstances or the nature and extent of damage. There are a lot of gray areas in claims. Nothing is really very defined in terms of what is it may be multiple factors that caused a fire to take place, for example, or the circumstances may be different from different people that you speak to. The nature and extent of damage different people can have two different views about what is damage, what is not damage, right? So then the loss adjuster's role is to find the middle ground. So there's a lot of negotiation that takes place right from the very start. Now, it's a bit difficult for loss adjusters from one aspect because the insured knows who's his insurer.
Correct.
And he knows who's his broker quite well. And we are always appearing at the scene. But you're
the new guy in the scene, right?
Yes, so we are the new person on the scene.
Correct.
And so to win the trust of the insured is very important.
That's true.
Because the insured must not feel that we are there to fight against them. But we are there to try to help to facilitate the claim and to try to make the insured also understand that there are compromises that need to be made. There are middle ground that need to be settled upon. So there's a lot of communication. I think the most important part of the work now is communication. Being an effective communicator, trying to explain to the insured, because they are laymen, they don't know the insurance policy well, right? So they want to hear what is advantageous to them after a loss. But it may not be always the case. So it's about communicating, it's about negotiating, being the person that helps them to understand the policy. And sometimes we become the bearer of bad news, unfortunately. But that's our role. And when you become the bearer of bad news, then you have to take that pressure that comes with it and to carry that burden as well. So in that sense, the human element of the work now becomes quite important, because it is no longer people take things lying down. They want explanation. They want to be satisfied with the explanation that you provide. They want to be convinced with the explanation that you have provided them. And so that prevents a lot of disputes from happening, if it's done well and it's done right from the onset.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't envy you in trying to find candidates to fill vacancies. I think as a justice, it's not easy. Clarence, I don't know. I mean, listening to what Thanga mentioned, it's not easy, right? You got to be a negotiator. You got to be that mediator. You got to have great communication skills. You got to be personable, because sometimes you got to deliver bad news, but got to figure out, a bit like bedside manners with a doctor. How do you say, okay, you have 1 month to live, but say it nicely and accept it, right? How do you do that? It's not easy. So I mean, there's a little bit of trying to find all-rounder in that sense. You got to have technical skills, because you also need to know policy wording, understand insurance, and then there's a softer side to the job as well, right? So I don't know. I'm curious, later we can get into that. Now, Clarence, for claims leaders, expectations now, they extend well beyond processing. Now, what new skills or approaches do you believe are essential for claims professionals to really do well today?
No, absolutely. And indeed, the role is a fairly dynamic one, requiring a varied range of skill sets. And technology is at hand to help take away the traditional, more mundane, more traditional processing and administrative tasks, allowing the young graduates who are more curious, more sophisticated, have access to technology, to consider the role of claims as a career. And in the complex claims environment, particularly in the specialty lines of business, we find it incredibly important to match skill sets to the subject matter. So for example, if we're looking at an occupancy of a petrochemical or power station, the preference therefore would be for the group, whether it's the adjuster, whether it's the claims professional, in a similar way that the underwriters and the risk engineers took on the risk. Every individual involved would have some experience and knowledge and expertise in the subject matter in the client industry. Because when a loss happens, it usually happens in a situation of disruption and crisis. So in these situations, the human element comes into play. After a decade or so, technical capabilities is a given. The art of the skill sets is the ability to read the room, to have some sensitivities around strategic thinking, and ultimately be persuasive in order to convince the parties of what your impartial or your independent view may be.
I see. And based on your experience, people who have transitioned into a claims role, a claims professional role, I mean, what are those innate qualities, right, that help them, to really position themselves well? What is that? What are those qualities? I'm really curious.
That's an interesting perspective, because if I reflect back, right, in the earlier years, your first few years of training, I would recall being meticulous would be important.
I see.
Being accurate in your evaluation would be highly important. As one progresses into the middle term of the career, then the individual claims professional and adjusters will be exposed to the larger, more complex matters. And then that brings in the whole element of international play, different cultures, different practices, often different languages. Thanga made reference to the role of project managing.
Correct.
So imagine project managing 20 individuals from 20 different organizations which may have some varied interests.
This is about the lead insurer part.
Yeah, the leader would have a
okay.
keen interest because the leader has the highest proportion of the share of the loss.
Okay.
And then depending on how the rest of the follow markets and companies are structured, they would naturally have more or less interest. And once in a while, you would have some distraction, right? For example, I'm exaggerating here.
Okay.
A company with 1% share,
Okay.
but decides this is interesting enough to be very involved.
Okay.
That's project managing the individual, the humans.
Okay. I think, for people that are maybe new to insurance, I think what Clarence was talking about, like sometimes for very big insurance, what do I call this? Insureds, okay? It's not just one insurance. We all think that it's just one insurance company. It's actually more than one. There's a leader who carries the largest percentage and there are followers who carry the smaller percentages. So it's about, as how Clarence mentioned, how we navigate through that, to manage. That's what you mean about the different professionals and how to get everybody to agree on one way, generally the leader's way. And so that's how it works. We think that insurance is just one insurer and one broker and one adjuster. It rarely is. There's so many people working at the back to make things work. And so let's lighten the mood. Let's just go into a quick round of myth and reality. There's a lot of myths, I think, in insurance, and that's what this podcast is about, actually. Really about, lifting the veil, trying to understand what's happening at the background, right? So because insurance is not something easy to understand. We rarely talk about how things work at the back either. So, and that's what we're trying to do right now, right? So I'll make a few statements, and then each of you, you let me know whether it's myth or reality, and just briefly tell me why your answer is as such. Now, Clarence, to you, technology will eventually replace human claims handlers. I hear this all the time, okay? Are you going to lose your job to technology or AI, Clarence? Seriously?
So in preparation of today's session, I thought I'll kick off and try to be candid, and I'll pick reality.
Okay, reality. Oh, reality. Why?
And this is really in the context of your high volume claims, right? Where you have a higher ratio of the human claim handlers to the claim file.
Oh, you have a higher ratio for this
in the portfolio where you have high volume. Generally lower average financial value of claims. That's where you typically require more humans, more touch points. Okay. The better organizations who started investing in technology earlier, they have been able to automate the triage and the fast tracking of claims. So that's utilizing technology.
This is the FNOL thing, right? The first notification of loss, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So with that group of companies who invested many years back in technology, they are reaping the benefits of it. So less humans.
Okay.
Right? But what technology brings to that space of high volume, lower value claims is consistency.
That's true.
In evaluation, speed in response, because they follow a formula, a template, which generally then resonates with customer experience.
That's true.
Because
where they want something fast, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
1,000 claimants or policyholders would receive a more consistent level of experience. From the insurer's lens, you get higher accuracy of evaluation.
Yeah.
You get potentially lower leakage. Earlier detection of fraud, therefore more prompt response to fraud, so managing fraud more effectively. But then when you pivot to the
larger complex claims,
the specialty lines of business, we're most certainly going to benefit from technology, because technology is akin to having. In your space, Tana, would be 5 additional loss adjusters helping you at the same time, but they're all smarter.
Smarters, yeah,
right?
True.
Where we need a report drafted whilst it's time for us to take a nap. because it's the end of the day.
Yeah, true. I mean, they
Technology is going to help us do that.
They don't go on leave. They don't take sick leave. They don't. Yes, you're right. 24/7. It's that additional pair of hands, eyes, intelligence. Sometimes that comes in, right? And how do we, I guess, leverage on all these additional, whatever capabilities that exist. Tanga, to you. Now, loss adjusters work for the insurer, so they cannot be impartial. Is that myth or reality?
So, before I answer that question,
everybody's got a backstory. Okay, tell me what the backstory
I think
is.
the philosophy is changing with insurers.
Okay.
Right? Insurers are now becoming more customer-centric.
Okay.
They understand the market is saturated. They understand that customers are difficult to retain. And customer loyalty is something that is eroding. Gone are the days where an insured stays with a broker for many years, or with an agent for many years, or even with an insurer. So dealing with the customer and ensuring that the customer sees that they are always trying to assist them in whatever situation is becoming really important.
Okay.
In that sense, it's the real philosophy of the company then that comes into the picture, because there are companies that have different claims philosophies, and when the claim philosophy is to try to find a way to pay the claim, then that would be a myth, because we are now trying to see how to pay the claim. So we are very much on the side of trying to satisfy the insured's need, or trying to meet the insured's very important need in the time of a crisis, right? But for the adjuster, the role is to find a solution at the end of the day.
Okay.
And a solution is always something that we want a win-win between the insurer and the insured. And if both parties feel that they've got a good deal out of the claim, then there's no real issue.
It's a good day for you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Clarence, for you. Most disputes in claims arise from fraud. Myth or reality?
I would suggest it's a myth, and a fairly large myth.
Okay.
Although fraud is a reality, and the level of sophistication and pace is increasing.
Okay.
So fraud is real, it exists. The reality, however, is that if we look at all the financial reports, the publications of your top 5, top 10 international reinsurers and insurers, multiples of billions of dollars are being paid out annually. This represents a high 90% of the claims that are being conducted, managed through the infrastructure. So the reality is majority of claims are paid.
Okay.
So where do disputes come from? I would suggest disputes stem from communication,
Okay.
a point discussed earlier, misalignment of expectations.
What the policy covers and what the insured thinks it covers, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. And it can be delicate, right? Because it's in a post-crisis environment.
Yeah, emotions are high.
Everyone
Yeah.
has a boss.
Correct.
Every organization has shareholders, and that's demand. That's demanding.
Yep.
And then third point that comes to mind would be the understanding of parties' interests and having empathy to demonstrate that understanding early in the relationship. And I would also suggest that majority of disputes are resolved.
Okay.
Because if with computer intelligence now, what you do is you go online and you ask, how many insurance-related disputes are there in the last 12 months?
Okay.
They exist.
Okay.
And we keep abreast of the legal decisions to ensure that we remain relevant in decision making. But majority disputes are resolved. Relationships are preserved. That's why they continue to transact.
That's true.
That's why the large organizations who need insurance have a priority to resolve disputes with their trading partners, so that enables them to be competitive at the next renewal.
That's true. That's true. And I think the important fact to remember is that we are in the business of paying claims. And I think to your point that most claims are paid, I think that's an important fact to understand, because I think there's a lot of, people think that we don't, or, that's a myth. And I think that's something that we should keep reinforcing, right? We are in the business of paying claims. Well, let's just quickly move on to how technology is reshaping our industry. And claims, I'm sure, is no exception. But what really matters is not the grand plans, but really when rubber hits the road, right? As in how that technology is applied. So, Clarence, for you, how are developments like, I think you mentioned automation, AI, digital claims platforms changing the value that you deliver to clients, and particularly in terms of speed, transparency, as well as fairness? How do you see that happening?
I like it. So personally, I've naturally embraced technology at a young age. In today's context, the digital platforms are enhancing visibility. For example, we made reference to first notice of loss.
Okay.
Many markets have the ability to facilitate digital notice of loss.
I see.
Increasingly in the retail space, I'm seeing on the personal lines a replacement of paper forms.
Okay. Are there still paper forms in existence today? Let's say just in Singapore. Are there still? Oh, wow.
Within the broader region, paper forms continue to exist.
Okay.
Paper checks continue to be a form of payment as opposed to what we're familiar with now, digital payment transactions. So markets are evolving at a good pace, and the visibility allows us to have better access to data. Data allows us to access insights, and from there allows decision makers, if adopted appropriately, to make better decisions going forward, whether that's risk improvement, whether that's consolidation or optimization of a business's portfolio. From the insurer's lens, digitalization allows the regional leader to have a dashboard. You start your day.
Okay.
At a glance, you know which country needs a little bit more attention this week than the other office.
Okay.
Right? So that's great. But having said, technology on its own doesn't directly translate to transformation just yet. Because the transformation occurs when the humans, us, adopt technology optimally.
Okay.
And I think that's when the magic happens.
I agree, absolutely. Thangat, now for an adjuster's role, right? We see drones. I know last time, if it's a massive fire, you would have to send adjusters down on the ground. Now we see drones being sent in to do inspection, damage assessment, imaging, remote assessments in use. Now, how are these tools improving efficiency and accuracy in adjusting, and where does human judgment come in, and how is that irreplaceable still in that equation?
Yeah, just echoing a little bit back to what Clarence said, the question is generally about technology and technological advancements. I think it's also a little bit of a challenge that the legacy insurers are facing compared to the digital-first insurers. Digital-first insurers have seemed to have caught on to this use of technology very fast, very well. And I think legacy insurers, although they may have 20, 30 years of data, that data is still outside of whatever.
Unstructured, sitting on a form.
Yeah. So it's adopting this for a legacy insurer will be a little bit a tougher mountain to climb compared to a digital-first insurer. Of course, technology, whatever technology that you talk about, remote surveying or using we did that during COVID. There was a lot of restrictions during COVID. People didn't want us to go to their homes or their business place during COVID. There was restriction. Of course, we were an exempted industry, so we could apply and we could go. But even then, the client had to be comfortable welcoming us into the homes. And so we did a lot of remote surveys using our apps. There were apps that were purchased and used. The very basic one would be a video call with the insured. The more advanced ones would be, a little bit more sophisticated app that allows you to have some spatial AI that now enables you to do some measurements as well when you take a photograph. So with all that, I think that there is a change. The one area I think that drones or video imaging is very useful is the 3D imaging that we do on large losses now. It's very strict. When there is a fire to a large building, the building construction authority steps in, they issue a closure order. So there's very limited time window for someone to enter the building, do a quick survey and come out of the building. And that must be accompanied by a professional engineer. So we do 3D imaging of the entire area, and it's practically you're walking through the site and entering any space within the factory that you want just by the click of a mouse, right? So that enables us to see more carefully how the fire spread, what are the areas that we really need to go in and do an investigation.
Okay.
Anywhere else in the region, you're practically very free to go in, even if there's a closure. As long as the insured is there, he allows you, you're not trespassing, you should be able to go in and take a look at the place, right?
Okay.
And also drones, you have to have certain licenses.
Okay.
You have to have certain permits from the Civil Aviation Authority to fly a drone in certain locations. So it's a little bit more controlled. I think, compared to other places. And ultimately, if you're talking about like going back to Clarence's point just now on fast track claims and all that, I think what insurers need to understand is that if they are going down the path of using technology to process and claims, speed, cost efficient, definitely, but there's also room for leakages. And the insurers has to be prepared for that. Now, policyholders, when they want to launch a complaint or make an appeal, they want to speak to a person. They don't want to speak to a chatbot.
That's true.
Right? So there is still some role that the humans have to play and claim professionals have to play. Although this may be a diminishing role right now. And the younger generation, we say, that's the older generation, the younger generation prefer not to speak to a person. They prefer to speak to a chatbot.
Yes.
And that's because they are digital natives. They want to deal with the claims in that manner.
Okay.
Right? So I think as times change, the claims experience and how we deal with claims will also need to change with the times. So that's what we are seeing right now.
And have you tried talking to a chatbot where you need to fit your question to one of its known questions and none of your problem fits into the known ones, and then you can't find a solution or any way to talk to this chatbot, and then it asks you, how was I helpful today? No, you were not. Okay, there's always a problem.
I did have a recent positive experience
with a chatbot.
Okay, won't name the name, not insurance related.
Okay.
Had a product which I purchased 1 month ago, failed, became faulty. Resolved it in less than 20 minutes.
Wow, really? Yeah. Through a chatbot?
Chatbot, which then picked up the escalation, got me to a human.
Okay.
But the human already had the background to the information.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So I didn't have to
repeat
retell.
yourself. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. Because that's the biggest problem when they hand you off.
Historically, that's what typically happens between
in a human
humans,
call center.
Right? They transfer you.
Correct. And then you lose all the background, the context, right? Okay, now we're going to go into some interesting stuff, right? Some stories, okay? I think the stories are what really help to connect, the real impact of the work that you all do. Now, you could, both of you, each of you, right, just share a story that really stuck with you as to how what you do, right, in your role, how that made a great impact to the client. Maybe we can go with Clarence. You want to start first?
Sure. So my background's insurance, reinsurance. I've been on this side of the business for about 5 years.
Okay.
And joining the business, I've attempted experimenting different ideas and approaches. So a story that comes to mind would be one which we brought to a resolution just end of last year. And this is a loss involving a very, very large organization in the region, not in Singapore, in the region.
Okay.
This organization had in turn 2 very large JV partners.
Okay.
So the essence, in simple terms, this stakeholding group is highly dynamic and has very high expectations. Okay. So they had an unfortunate incident about 5-6 years back. In the magnitude, it was a physical loss in the magnitude of over $100 million.
Okay.
And unfortunately, for 4 years, their claim was not paid.
Oh dear.
It was not paid. It did not progress. The claim involved 20 over insurance companies.
Oh, so there was a lot of negotiation going back and forth.
There were a lot of inquiries. There were a lot of
see.
letters. There were a handful of technical consultants. Then that's normal, right? You got engineers, your accountants. In this case, you also had the lawyers, a group of lawyers. And I would emphasize that this was not our account. It was a client of us, but the subject matter of the policy was not an account that we placed. It wasn't a program that we placed. So it was fairly widespread news because of the magnitude of the loss. So I think towards the end of the 4th year of the claim not being paid, we connected with a couple of key decision makers. We presented ideas with the board of the 2 JV partners. A courageous client decided to take a bet on us and said, okay, I'm going to pause this legal debate and we're going to let you have a try at it.
Okay.
So we deployed, we carried out our due diligence, we did a full mapping of the key decision makers, including the nuances of how each decision maker would approach matters, disputes such as this. And within 6 months of deployment, we successfully turned around the decision.
Very good. So you got them to agree with what you all were proposing.
We reframed the narrative.
I see.
We reset some of the factual understanding within the key decision makers. And there was general alignment that there was monies to be paid. So the question led to how much, right? Instead of there is nothing to be paid. So it was a huge improvement.
Yeah.
And very encouragingly, parties took concrete steps to progress on the quantum evaluation.
I see.
And within the same financial year, 20 over parties agreed on the settlement.
Were they also fatigued? 4 years. Like, come on, man, let's agree on something here. I mean, I don't want to hit the 5th year milestone with no agreement, right? So, but I think also communication was key, right? Active listening to what mattered to those 2 JV partners, I think, right? Also, and appealing to that, what was important to them.
Yeah, and that brought to light 3 of our core capabilities. One is analytics, that's using data.
And you can't fight that, right?
Use data to guide our decisions and to present our merits. Advocacy is really the human beings who has both empathy, technical knowledge and capabilities and able to read the room, right? All things combined. Third, also important, is partnerships. Because as we were mapping out the decision makers, our existing trading partnerships facilitated buy-in.
I see.
Right? There was nothing ex gratia or commercial about it, but it's really, okay, we have an existing trading relationship, an existing level of trust. I'm going to be receptive to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
And it helped, I guess, because fresh pair of eyes.
Yes.
We're not the existing broker involved.
Correct.
So that helped parties to sort of reset and just listen. Today, all parties are trading.
Oh, very good.
Such
also,
a large,
no
it's such a
bridges burned. Nothing.
It's such a large account.
Okay.
There is so much in it for everyone company
I
to
see.
preserve that relationship.
Very good. Very good. And I think you went in with that, right? Look, let's not burn any bridges. Let's come to a solution that works. Okay, very good. Thanga, story to beat Clarence. It's a competition today.
Yeah. So I've got so many stories to tell. I will go with one very memorable claim, which is
Okay.
a fraud
Oh,
claim.
okay.
This company, this factory is a rice vermicelli factory.
Oh,
Right. So it's a very large factory. There was a fire about 4 years ago, and a new fire happened 4 years later, and I was involved in the new fire. And I went in to do the investigation.
Didn't
And,
realize that vermicelli was very flammable.
Machines, equipment,
Oh,
all
okay.
sorts of things, right? So
Okay.
it's a huge factory.
Okay.
The entire factory was gutted.
Oh,
So it was
both times. In both
we do
the-
not know about the previous
I
one,
see.
but the fire that I attended to, the entire factory was gutted.
Okay.
It was quite a large factory.
100
Clarence claimed.
million. Clarence, okay.
But when
Amount
we
he
went in,
wins.
sometimes adjusters go in with a sixth sense, right?
Okay.
So something was just not right from the very beginning. So I investigated. I handled the claim myself. I investigated, interviewed all the workers that were still remaining, interviewed the neighbors, and then started to probe. And what we did is we wrote to the insurer that paid the previous claim got them to give us all the photographs that the adjusters took from the previous claim.
Okay.
And we analyzed all the photographs. And slowly, we started realizing that all the machines that were in the new factory were the machines from the previous fire. Okay. So we traced back the salvage that was purchased from the previous fire. So the machines that were damaged in the first fire were sold off as salvage. We tracked down the salvage buyer, and we went to see the salvage buyer, and we realized that the salvage buyer bought the salvage, but quickly let the salvage go back to the insured. And the machines were set up. There was an insurance claims manager that did the risk survey who didn't realize that those were all damaged machines. And so
how were they operating with those?
they didn't operate. They did not operate. So it was entirely staged.
For 4 years?
Yes.
They didn't operate?
They did not operate at all. So the 4 years was them buying in wholesale, repackaging, and selling it as retail. So, so all these red flags were there. And the matter was reported by the CEO of the insurance company to the police. It was a criminal breach of trust. I had to testify in court. The insured, the managing director of the insured firm was convicted, was put behind bars. And he came out and became a taxi driver. Okay.
No way.
So that was one claim that there was so much of investigation that went into that.
Goodness.
Went into that claim in terms of tracing even the employees that left, the past employees, getting them to give statutory declarations, and all this evidence were put together and presented in court, and it was a criminal trial, and he got convicted. So insurers saved quite a lot of money with that.
And trusting your instincts, right? And leaving no stones unturned, you know, like really.
Yep.
I think that what really saved the day, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure the insurer would have been very grateful.
And this is the element where humans will continue to play a part, because it's the natural instinct that
Correct, yes.
gets built up over the course of the profession.
Oh my goodness. So you make friends and foes everywhere you go, Thanga. Okay, we should need to put that tagline somewhere.
I'm curious, if I may, at any point of these investigations where you smell fraud, do you feel your life at risk? Or your safety in general?
I know,
especially
right?
when you are doing it.
Correct.
I mean, we've done quite a number of fraud claims especially in the entertainment industry.
Clubs
and all that. That's quite often. And these sometimes can be very expensive. Can be in the tens of millions because they are really huge.
That's true. Very
clubs.
huge clubs, yeah.
Very huge clubs, and it's all set.
Okay, now, at its heart, claims is about trust. Okay, we talked about this. Trust is earned. Trust can also be breached. Now, let's talk about how it can be preserved and strengthened. Now, Thanga, when tensions arise between insurers, clients, adjusters, what steps do you take to reinforce trust in that sense, maintain transparency in the process? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about tension, and I think a lot of things that we face in a claim situation really goes back to the underwriting of the policy. There's always some gap in the cover or some mismatch in the cover. The policy says one thing, the insured thinks a completely different. He has a different perception of what the policy covers. Now, that's probably the first, and I think the biggest area of where trust is lost, really. Because the insured is under the
misconception.
Yes, exactly. That the policy covers something, right? Now, it can be something that can be detrimental to the claim. At the end of the day, a claim may not be payable at all. So I think first and foremost, it's very important to let the client know where the gaps are and what these gaps are right from the onset, and not spring any surprise on them as the claim progresses. So the client knows and understands that these are the areas where there may not be an adequate cover that is in place. Now, we see that from very small claims, small losses, right up to quite complex, large claims as well. So that communication is very important, because no communication simply means that you are giving the client the impression
that everything is fine.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So I think that's where you have to be bold enough and the insurers must give you that mandate to communicate that to the insured early on, right from the onset of the claim, so everybody is clear about what is covered, what is not covered. I think once that's done, then I think you overcome a lot of hurdles, and then you can move on with the claim in dealing with the rest of what needs to be done.
Okay.
What we don't want to let the client down right at the tail end of the process, right? Because then the client is under the impression that all his claim is going to be paid, but it ends up not being paid at the end of the day, right? So that's very important, I think. And causation is a big issue with a lot of claims, especially complex claims. And I think the method, the what we adopted previously was always a case where we keep it away from the insured, don't tell the brokers, report everything to the insurers first, and then let the insurers make a decision. Now, we have moved on from that right now. So if there's a dispute on causation, we will always highlight that to the insured and give the insured an opportunity to explain. Because we may be
Give them the benefit of the doubt too. Okay.
Yeah, let them, if they need to bring in an expert, for example, and if there is a dispute on cause, I think it needs to be sorted out right when it can be sorted out. Because once it's already in writing, report goes in, it's very difficult to reverse the situation.
That's true.
So what we do is, if we see an issue on causation, we invite the insured to perhaps engage another expert that if they want to review the causation and come to a common understanding. Things are really not always black and white. There can be gray areas. There can be concurrent causes. There can be so many different scenarios that can arise. So it's understanding what can be potential disputes in a claim. Understanding that early and addressing that would be the most important thing, I think.
Okay. So I think Thanga talked a lot about communication, keeping everybody informed. Now, Clarence, how do you ensure clients stay informed and confident, and even when claims are highly complex and outcomes are really uncertain, how do you ensure that?
Be active, right? Along the theme of active communication, be honest early and transparent in that process. So access decision makers, particularly in larger organizations where everyone has a manager upstairs and every other manager has a board upstairs. So access decision makers early, keep them in the loop throughout, where we identify that certain individuals require additional support to manage communications internally, execute quickly.
Okay.
Don't wait.
Okay.
And be intentional with matching expertise. So to the team of matching the right expertise to the subject matter, because when you deploy the right expertise, it relieves the insureds and their employees of having to translate what's natural for them, right? We have a large collective group of expertise comprising different fields of engineering fields, accounting, and risk engineering. So we've got the pool of people, and acknowledging that complex claims in itself carry a high level of uncertainty, right? Ambiguity being a description used. We mitigate it with pre-loss preparation activities. So before the loss, we put time aside with the client, with our preferred adjusting partner, with our preferred carrier partner, and we say, let's spend time together. Let's get to know one another. Let's agree what the claims protocol looks like.
If you ever have to make a claim. This is like an incident response plan.
Yeah.
Right? Like if, let's say, something happened. Okay,
Exactly.
I see.
Overlaying with many organizations which have an existing business contingency plan.
Okay.
So you overlay the insurance protocol, the process. So there's minimum duplication. It's a key priority that the business would need to attend to anyway on a regular basis.
And would that be for large, large insured sums?
The exercise is fairly intensive resource.
Okay.
So preparing for the pre-loss preparation activities
itself is a lot of work.
Takes time.
Okay.
And with large organizations involving multiple business units, that also takes time to coordinate.
Okay.
And it's half a day of everyone's important day. But so far, 100% of clients who have carried out a thorough pre-loss preparation, they have nothing but excellent feedback. right? Because what we do is we introduce the partners before the crisis. During the situation, adjusters have so many stories to share, including lessons learned from causation.
Okay.
And what we do is also we stress test hypothetical loss scenarios.
Oh, very good.
Clients love that. And it brings increased certainty from the adjusting and from the underwriter's lens too.
I think it's good for them to know what would happen, right? If ever, say like a fire happens, how's everybody gonna step in and put my business back? Or how's my policy going to get paid? Everything, right? So I think that's a really wonderful thing to do.
Exactly. Having an improved level of understanding of everyone's roles and responsibilities.
Correct. Yeah. I guess it also aligns everyone's expectation, right?
Indeed.
Right? Because I may think I have to do this, you may think you have to do that, then you're aligning it. So that's good. Okay. Let's now move on to the rapid fire round. These are just one-line answers very quickly. Okay. What is the most misunderstood part of your job? Okay. Tanga, to you first.
That we are always on the side of the insurer and always against the insured.
Okay. Clarence?
I hear this regularly, that claims is not client facing.
Oh my God, who says that? Okay. All right. Biggest claim by complexity or impact that you've handled?
My most memorable one would be the Johor floods, where we handled about 5,000 claims over 2 months. So that was massive for us because it impacted so many people.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Clarence? Was it that 100 million one just now that you spoke about?
That came to mind. And then prior to that, there was a petrochemical related one.
Okay.
That was relatively more massive. It was eventually settled at over $500 million US.
Wow.
And it was in a country where English is not first language.
Okay.
And also happened during the first 6 months of the pandemic.
Oh man. Okay, that would have been an additional challenge already. Yeah. Okay, speed, accuracy, or empathy. If you could pick only one, which matters most?
Empathy for sure.
Are you saying that because there's a camera here?
No, I think that's one thing that technology cannot replace.
I know. I get what you mean.
It has to be a human touch.
100% in agreement.
Okay.
With a capital
all right.
E.
I'm glad we agree on that. Okay, what's one tool or piece of technology that you can't live without today in your role?
For me, I think it's
your phone.
It has to be, because that's the modern toolkit, right? You do everything, practically everything on your phone.
It's no longer a phone, actually, right?
Yeah, it is not.
It's more than that.
It's a complete toolkit for an adjuster.
That's
you can do so many things with it. Yeah.
Parents?
Somewhat related, for me in the last 6 months, increasingly so, it's direct access to computer intelligence. So in many regards, artificial intelligence or your chat GPT and equivalents.
Okay. Finally, advice for young professionals coming into the claim space today. Tanga, Clarence?
Okay, I'm always an advocate of personal branding. That's the drum that I beat always. And insurance gives you that avenue that you can, position yourself, you can brand yourself, you can put yourself out there. And the market will know you if you are doing your work well. And the market will get to know you within a relatively short period of time, unlike other industries. So I think anyone with the desire, they can build their personal branding in insurance. Okay. We are all known because who we are, not so much about the company but it's about the individuals in this market.
Okay. Clarence?
So we talked about talent today. I guess my pitch would be, if you are naturally curious, receptive to experimenting ideas, and curious about a wide spectrum of industries and businesses, and enjoy negotiation.
Oh yes,
I would suggest you would have a fulfilling career in claims.
All right. Last question. Outlook. Okay, future outlook. How do you see it? Like 1-2 sentence. How do you see the role of an adjuster evolving, say, in 5 years' time or up to 2030, looking at all the risks that we're seeing now? How would you say, how do you foresee, if you had to look at the role of an adjuster in 2030, how do you think it would have changed?
I think the claims that we're going to handle is going to transform.
The claims is going to change.
The claims are going to change.
Okay.
And it's going to be, the adjusters are going to be needed in dealing with large complex claims. Think of the routine claims, the day-to-day claims, the small low-value claims are going to be things that we are not going to be dealing with so much. That's going to be dealt with by technology, by all your tools that are going to come about. But it's going to be the more focus into complex and large claims space. Yeah, that's how I would see it moving forward.
Clarence, how do you see a claims professional 2030? How is it different? Or your role, how would it be different?
Hopefully still the same number of us doing what we what we enjoy. Technology certainly comes to mind. We'll probably be a lot smarter, quicker, more responsive. And I think we are also learning emotional intelligence in a refresh way. Right? Whilst we're no longer in school, we're interfacing with human beings in the trades, in the businesses who are themselves evolving with technology. So we as a population are getting better and smarter at the way we carry out business. And if I think about insurance as an industry, or perhaps as from the lens of a feasible risk transfer solution, right, we will have to be comfortable managing expectations, communicating in a way that relates to the business. And that requires us to continue learning and upskilling.
Very true. All right. Thank you very much, Thanga, Clarence. Thank you for sharing your stories and your insights. I think today, we've seen how roles are evolving. We've seen how technology, human judgment, everything that comes together, right? Whether it's collaboration, partnership, communication, how all that is transforming claims, and why trust remains the true currency of our industry. Now, for our listeners, reimagining claims isn't about speed or just efficiency. It's about fairness, confidence, and strengthening the bond with clients. Now, this has been The Risk Factor. I'm Shalini Pavithran, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you again, Clarence and Thanga. We'll see you in the next episode where we continue to explore trends, risks, developments shaping insurance for today as well as for the future. Thank you very much. Thank you,
been a pleasure.
gentlemen.